Journaling is such a powerful tool for spiritual growth or personal growth, and we can use journal prompts that are specifically targeted to get to a specific pattern, specific wound. And if some of you may know that I absolutely love journaling and I talk about it all the time in my videos, but if you are new here, you're in for a treat with these 5 journal prompts that are super effective, that are designed just for you, the beginner. So journaling is my go-to tool. I've done journaling or kept a diary since I was a child, really. And I really heavily got involved, I would say, heavily into it when I was a teenager. And cringe alert, I've read back on my diaries and they were so cringy. But I realised I was actually writing a lot of self-worth issues in my diaries back when I was a teenager. But I've done a burning ritual and kind of got rid of all of those journals since then. But here are those 5 effective journal prompts that are easy but highly effective. The first one is, if I had no fear, what would I do? And this is to help get to not only any darkness in our shadow, but also light. So this could be dreams, desires, aspirations. If you had no fear that you were holding on to, what would you do? Would you create that business? Would you create that product? Would you go and ask that person out? What would you do? The world is your oyster when you have no fear. You can really get to those parts of yourself that you have suppressed and denied, but are highly beneficial. So those light parts of ourselves that are more easier to accept. This could be your desire to be artistic, to write that book, and this is helping us to kind of get over that fear or become aware of the fear that has been in the way of us actually taking that leap of faith to do that big dream that we've always wanted to do. But not only that, this journal prompt will help us to identify any darkness as well. If you had no fear, what would you do? Would you speak out? Would you call somebody out on their bullshit? Would you actually be more authentic, be more honest? And I'm not talking about, if I had no fear, I would go and murder someone before somebody kind of points that out. That's not what I'm saying here. But we do all have those inner darker demons, those desires within us. And this is to help you kind of dig deep a little bit and discover those parts of yourself where you want to stand up and speak for yourself, or those parts of ourselves that you have been pushing away that would benefit you from setting firmer boundaries. So the second journal prompt will push you just that little bit further. It's to help you go deep and understand any behavior patterns that may not be serving you, or any behavior patterns that you could use that would benefit you. And this is, in what ways am I like my parents? So this one you might feel a little bit of resistance to, because if you are like many people in my audience and my clients, they have a lot of childhood trauma. The parents weren't very emotionally available. So we don't want to identify with our parents. We don't have the best relationship with the parents. And so we don't really want to go there. Maybe there's inner child wounding, abandonment wound. And so it can feel a little bit tricky to go here, but we all can pick up on little traits, little behavior patterns that we can see have been passed down to us. And it doesn't have to be anything toxic. And if you are feeling a little bit resistance to this, it's totally normal. You can just start off as an example. Me and my 2 other sisters, we all do the same thing that my mother does when changing a bin. I know this sounds a bit weird. What's this got to do with toxic behavior traits, my parents? But what I'm saying here is we pick up on things that our parents do, that are role modeled to us. And so the way we take out the bin, squeeze the bag together, put it in the bin, and then like open it up. We've all kind of learnt that way of doing, changing the bin, putting a fresh bin bag or just a plastic bag in a small bin. And that's because that's what we picked up from my mum, that's what we learned, and that's just kind of a nice easy way to kind of start this. What little like things have you picked up that you and your siblings all do, maybe that you have learned from your mum or your dad? So you can see here how then this can open you up a little bit, so then we can begin to go deeper into maybe toxic behavior patterns that have been passed down to us, understanding the intergenerational trauma that we play out again and again. If we are unconscious to this, we will begin to play out the same cycles of parenting with our own children, if you are a parent, or if your parent was had no emotional regulation. That was highly likely passed on to you because you were not role modeled how to regulate your own emotions. So for example, my mother, she didn't know how to regulate her emotions. It was very much like walking on eggshells. You didn't know if 1 minute she was going to be like calm as anything and the next minute she would snap, and she didn't know how to kind of regulate her emotions, and she would get very angry very, very, very quickly. I just always remember being like, don't piss her off today, don't piss her off today. She could snap at any moment. And so this has played out in my own life, that yes, I can get very reactive towards my son, but I am the cycle breaker. If you don't know what a cycle breaker is, this is where somebody chooses not to continue playing out that same behavior patterns, those same parenting, if you are a parent, and be more consciously aware of your life, be more conscious, aware of your behavior patterns, your beliefs, so you don't keep continuing that generational pattern that that's been passed down your lineage. And so I am the cycle breaker. I parent my son consciously. So you can see here how this journal prompt can go very deep, very, very quickly if you wish it to, or you can just stay on the surface level if you are new to this and you're feeling some resistance. And this journal prompt is actually from my free Shadow Work journal prompt PDF. And if you would like to get your hands on more of these Shadow Work journal prompts, just click the link in the pinned comment below to claim it. Yours is absolutely 100% free, no catch or anything like that. Third journal prompt that is very effective at going deep. What do I or you wish you were better at? So this can help us to get to know our maybe toxic behavior traits, any kind of patterns that we are seeing and ways we want to improve ourselves. It helps us to go introspective, and introspective just means like looking within ourselves, going inward and understanding our thoughts and our feelings. So this helps us to identify ways in which we want to improve ourselves. So this can also identify any self-worth issues, because often, even for myself, what I've noticed in my own life and with my clients is that we don't feel like we are good at something. Like we think, I wish I was better at that. I wish I could do that. And in fact, I say to them, you are actually very good at this, and this, or you just haven't put enough repetition into it, enough practice to be good at something. And so it's always rooted in a self-worth issue, which is highly likely you might be able to identify when journaling with this prompt. But what I also love about this journal prompt, it will help us to kind of accept ourselves, accept where we are. I wish I was better at this, or I wish I was good at this, but I'm actually not yet. And so it's helped us to kind of release resistance to wanting to be somewhere, to want to be really good at something. And I have struggled with this for so long, because I took a photography course back about 2 years ago now. I went back to college, and I would put myself down a lot because I felt I had to be so good at it, and I just wasn't there yet. I hadn't practiced enough. It was at the beginning of the course, and I would see these other students there that had come from another photography course, or they were just better because they'd practiced more. And so I felt like I had to be as good as them. Why am I not as good as them? Why I wanted to be I wanted to be somebody I'm not yet, because I hadn't put enough reps in and not enough practice yet. I was kind of trying to run before I could walk. And I could see that it was actually rooted in self-worth, not being good enough, not being capable enough. And so doing this kind of work, this journal prompt, will help you to identify those parts of yourself. Number 4, what is my biggest regret in life? Now, we all have regrets. I have regrets. This helps us to kind of look back and be introspective, be reflective on our actions, our thoughts, or our inactions in the past that led us to a particular outcome. So maybe you regret not asking that person out, or you regret not taking that job opportunity. You regret not applying for that job, even though you knew it would be the best outcome, but you were so in fear maybe, or just because you feel you didn't deserve it, you weren't good enough, is often the case with these fears. And so this is an opportunity, again, to be introspective, to really see how we think and feel about ourselves when we make or we perceive we've made the wrong decision, or we haven't taken action on something. So this means the next time you are challenged with a particular opportunity, or faced with a really amazing opportunity, or you're faced with a fear, we can think about all of that inner work we've done and be aware now of any regrets or actions and stuff, and know that it probably wasn't for our best interest, because regrets can be, you regret doing something bad as well. So my 5th and final effective shadow work prompt is, how do you think and feel or react when you make a mistake? Do you have a really harsh inner critic? Or do you kind of shrug it off, we all make mistakes, and just carry on about your day? Or do you create a lot of resistance and refuse to accept that you've made this mistake and want to put it right? And you try to control it and go, no, I have to put this right because I've made a mistake, and you just go on this downward spiral. And then we often beat ourselves up even further because we have that negative inner critic. So this is to help us discover our own internal voice, what we think about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves when we make a mistake. Do we show ourselves any self-compassion? Do we show ourselves love, for example? And often with that internal voice, that inner critic, it is never really our own voice. It's often passed down. It's somebody's shadow, your parents' shadow, their wounds that they never dealt with, has been projected onto you maybe when you were a child. And so that becomes our own voice, and then we can continue to play out the same pattern, which also that kind of ties in what ways am I like my parents. So remember, if you want to go deeper and continue on your shadow work and journaling, journey. Download that free shadow work journal prompts for beginners. Click the link in the pinned comments now. If you want to discover 3 signs that your shadow work practice is actually working, check out this video next. And with that being said, I will see you in that video. Much love.